Oh, I hope this works. As you can see, slightly different setup today because my Mac broke. Bad day. Bad day in the Simon Miller household. So we are going to have to sort that out. So I'm just trying to load the questions up because that's why I'm a bit late as well. So, oh, sugar, I've done it again. Shite. Oh, it's one of those days. Hang on. How the hell has that happened? Oh, you sons of... everyone's going to see this as well. This has been switched to public for some reason, which I did not do because I double checked it. So I've now made it unlisted. I'm sorry to to patrons. It's just one of those days. My Mac broke and I was clicking around, and I think because I had to use Streamlabs as opposed to what do I usually use? I usually use OBS when I do my Patreon stuff, and because I had to switch it, it has put it live. I won't kick anybody out because that's not fair. This is meant for Patreons only. We do this once a week. We get a bunch of questions, and and we get them answered. I'm gonna have to turn my fan on as well because I'm stressed and hot now. So sorry, I just have to deal with that noise as well, which I know sucks. I definitely put it to unlisted because I made this mistake once and I checked, but I think because I'm using different materials, it has switched it to live. Anyway, sorry about that. It's quite stressful when your Mac breaks. Your expensive Mac. That will be my weekend after I have wrestled tomorrow, which I'm doing, which is why I'm sporting somewhat of a tan right now. I always get a tan done before my wrestling because I just think it looks better. And also because, I can't remember his name because that's the world we live in. Come on, brain. What's his damn name? I can't remember. A really famous UK British wrestler, because I'm stressed, I can't remember, came to me and said, Miller, you need to make sure... Mark Andrews, thank you, brain. Said you absolutely always need to get a tan. So I'm doing it. But yeah, this is usually meant for patrons. I just want to say that again because I want to apologise to patrons. I genuinely didn't mean to put it public, but we're still going to do this. We'll still go ahead with it. We'll still do the usual thing. It's my bad. I'll make it up to you in the week. Anyway, we do have a few questions. Gonna go through them, get answered on a Friday night here in sunny old England. Can't believe it broke. Can't believe my Mac broke. Anyway, I'll fix it. First, I need to click that as well. Yeah, because we need to do that. Yeah, okay. My man Derek Eiler, who is coming on the podcast next week. Not in the UK, but here in Fort Worth, Texas, it's been over 90 degrees with almost 110 heat index. What? It's really hot here today. Are we going to tell me on my phone, if I click on my phone, how warm it is? Where's the weather at? There it is. So today, man, it got up to 33 at one point. I mean, that's not hot as yours, my friend, but yeah, it got pretty damn hot. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It makes me want to cry. My man Stan, always appreciate Stan's comments. Cheers, Simon. First off, I too love Shawshank Redemption, based on the video we did earlier. The first time I actually saw it, I was watching it just to appease my partner. Needless to say, I was blown away. Amazing in every way. It really is a good film. With regards to your things that you don't understand in life, video you can watch now, I'd say same here, and what I constantly think about is when I see a car accident. The amount of circumstances it took to make that happen is mind-blowing. What if person A in the accident took 45 seconds to check the mail, person B went to the bathroom before getting in the car? It's true, right? They both had to be in the exact spot at the exact moment for the accident to happen. A 10-second delay anywhere, accident probably never happens. It always blows my mind. It blows my mind as well. I was in a car accident once, and I was going to see my mate, and I was 5 minutes late because somebody came to my door to do one of those survey things. And if that guy had never come, I probably never would have crashed my car. Life is terrifying. For my comment question this week, I got to thinking when I see video after video after video across different creators on YouTube where they are critical of WWE in every way possible. You know I am well aware of the issues in WWE, but feel like because I find something to enjoy in most shows, that it's not ruined for me, and then they tell me that I'm wrong. I know your pains, damn. It's to the point where most videos anymore I don't want to watch because of the overwhelming negativity. Whether it's intended or not, it truly feels like some people out there might be happy if WWE fell apart, because they do. I'm sure I'm wrong about that attitude. No, I think you're right. And they just want to be better, but constant bashing gets you. It does. And I think you have to be in the right mood as well. Like, the really interesting thing about constant negativity is that it does drag you down. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to be horrible, but there's a podcast I listen to all the time. And over the last few months, they have been way too, way too negative. And I had to stop listening because it gets to you and it puts me in a bad mood. Not saying that people can't be critical, they should. But when it's just constant moan, you're like, oh, I don't want to do it. Some people in the chat are saying, well, I don't see Stan here. No, because the way the Patreon podcast works is you've got to be a member of the Patreon. Again, I'm really sorry I put this live. I've taken it off now, but I'm not going to kick anybody out. So these are all questions in the Patreon thread. That's what we do. We put it live on a Monday, and some point in the week, usually on a Friday, but sometimes before, we answer all the questions. A little bit more laid back, a little bit more relaxed. You can ask anything you want. I'm just selling it now, which is not my idea at all. Side note, I'm over the 2 out of 3 falls on every match. I wonder if part of the change was a network thing where they didn't want the show in the corner during commercials anymore. Dunno, I just noticed it wasn't there anymore. I didn't notice that. It's just this stupid thing about Vince McMahon not wanting to, have wrestling during commercial break. He's overthought it. That was never an issue. He's overthought it. And why we have to... I still don't understand why we can't have a match. You then go to commercial and then the people in the live audience can see, let's say, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens can be shown leaving the arena, and then we don't need to see that. And then when we come back, we're just on to a new story. That seems a lot easier to me. And they could just have the match there and book an advert in afterwards. More of a positive item. I wonder if you hold out hope that we shouldn't rule out anyone getting a run at the WWE or Universal Championship. I think having Kofi as champ is one of those it will never think. Yeah, it truly was. Yeah, one of those it will never happen things for the longest time. Channeling my inner Miller, it just lets me think it can happen for anyone. Jinder Mahal. Same kind of a thing. Hope L is well with you, my friend. As always, remember how much you're appreciated by everyone. Thank you, Stan. I appreciate that. You're always a good guy. Yeah, things are going well, other than my Mac breaking. I'll sort it. It's fine. Cheney Childers. Hey, Simon. I hope you're doing well in the English heat. I never do well in heat. I break as a human. I really do. So this week of wrestling, we saw a lot of tag matches, which I love because the men's tag team division needs this. That is true. Do you think that having the same matches with tag teams were good or bad this week? I think the problem with the tag team division is just got no structure to it, right? You just get random matches each and every week, and then usually Daniel Bryan gets pinned. What I'm hoping now that Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff are being brought in, who knows how that's going to work out, what I would like to see is just more structure all around. So if Daniel Bryan and Heavenly Machinery are feuding, let's have interesting things each week. Let's come up with stories and narratives and reasons for me to tune in, as opposed to we're having a match. Now we're having a match with the Usos. Now we're having a match with the New Day. It all feels a bit scatterbrained, but that's not just in the tag division, that's everywhere. In terms of the women's division, I really enjoyed the Alexa Bliss 365. I haven't seen that yet on the network. I haven't seen it. And her matches were good. I like that everyone is warning Nikki about Alexa, and I feel there's going to be hints. And I think now, since Nikki won on SmackDown, that at Extreme Rules, there will be another good match from Bayley and Alexa. Who do you think will win? I think because coming out of Extreme Rules, we're going to go into this new world, I think that Alexa Bliss may win that title, which kind of sucks because Bayley only just won it. But I think, well, SmackDown's Eric Bischoff. But I think coming up with a really cool story for Bayley going after the title and kind of resetting that character a little bit could be interesting. I'm going to say Bayley and Alexa will show her true colours in front of Nikki. Well, you could do that too, right? And then you could go off to a Nikki-Alexa feud. So, yes. Also, congrats Nikki and Killian on their wedding. I don't actually think they got married. Oh, I think they got married a few months ago, and now they just had another party or something like that. But, of course, yeah, congrats to them. I don't know how I feel about the Corbin-Evans match, but it's funny you say that. There is a flyer currently circulating on... the internet, which apparently says on Raw, Paul Heyman's going to be there. Makes sense. But we're also going to get Seth versus Baron for the title and Becky versus Lacey for the title. So that may be off. We will see. I still feel Becky and Seth will retain. I did like the Ember and Sonya match, even though it was short and they kind of buried Ember. I feel she's really talented, not saying Sonya isn't. That match was, honestly, given they only had like 3.5 minutes, I thought it was a really well put together match. I really, really did. And the push into the ring post looked good. I agree. In the men's, I like The Undertaker is back and he's partnering up with Roman, who beat Taker at WrestleMania 33. Do you think they'll win? I don't know how it's going to finish, but again, I'm now convinced that we're going to get Drew McIntyre versus The Undertaker at SummerSlam. And I'm all for it. You heard it here first. I'm also loving that Shinsuke versus Finn for the IC title is perfect. I'm glad they are pushing more of their stars who get overlooked. Absolutely. Shinsuke versus Finn. This has come at the perfect time, because hopefully that's a SmackDown thing, right? Hopefully Bischoff is aware. I mean, Bischoff used to push Japanese guys and European guys. Hopefully everyone's aware about the audience that will cater for, and we go all in with it. pun not intended. Wish me luck on Friday. I'll be doing my scans that day, and we'll be going back Monday to do labs. So that's today. Cheney, I hope it went all right. Or you probably don't now. I hope that it has gone okay. Plus, I have an infusion that day. Well, yeah, I mean, all the thoughts with you, Cheney. Most of us here know what you've been through, so fingers crossed. Fingers crossed for you. Let me know how you get on. Rare question. What era of classic gaming would be the best in your opinion? For me, classic Nintendo and Game Boy first gen. What about current systems today? I do love my Xbox, and I would get a Switch because I hear a lot of Zelda and all the games would be fantastic. My favourite era is the SNES. It doesn't really tie in. If I could pick anything, these don't really correlate, but I would pick a SNES and I'd pick a Game Boy Advance SP, which came out way after the SNES. The SNES is my favourite console ever. Link to the Past is one of my... Actually, I prefer Ocarina of Time, but Link to the Past is a worthy substitute. And it's like F-Zero and the Mario games, and we could do this all day. But no, that's my favourite. The SNES... I don't usually buy stuff like the mini consoles, but as soon as they announced SNES Mini, I was like, I'm all over it. So yeah, I snapped that up. And I love but the only reason I love my Game Boy Advance SP is because basically it was like a handheld SNES. That was fantastic, that thing. So yeah, that would be my favorite. Although I love the original Game Boy too. It's like a brick. Since you are really into Metallica, what other bands do you enjoy? I'm a big bag. I love the Smiths and also love the Cure. I'm not much into modern music, but there are some. My bands. I'm not very good at this. The bands that always come to mind are Metallica, Trivium, Symphony X, Megadeth, Iron Maiden, Diamond Head, System of a Down. They should have come earlier. They're like my go-tos. But there's so many other bands I listen to. Like Heart of a Coward are this band from the UK that I'm well into at the moment. It's like Discarnate. I think they're from Milton Keynes. So they're all coming from the same place. Periphery I like. Slipknot I like. I think that's pretty much it. And obviously there's loads of Eminem and Joyner Lucas and stuff on here. So yeah, it's a little bit boring, I guess, but I like the obvious ones. Jordan Pies, hey bro, hope it's cooling down over there. Seeing the guns on ups and downs made me want to crush it even more in the gym this week. I'll take it, Jordan. That's very kind. Thank you very much. I've lost it now. I've got a couple of questions. Who do you think Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch can feud with after they squash Baron and Lacey? I've got a feeling, given everything that's happened in the last 24, 48 hours, we're going to move them apart quite quickly. I don't think it's beneficial to anybody. Yeah, maybe we'll bring Beth Phoenix back somehow, but Edge can't work, of course. But I think it won't last long. Also wondering if you were an MCU fan and what your favourite MC movie is. Have a good rest of the week. Thank you. And you, yeah, I'm a big Marvel fan. I prefer the movies to the comics because as a comics guy, I was a DC guy. So that's just how I was brought up. But no, I love the MCU. My favourite thing about it is everything they do with Endgame. I thought, what a great movie. With all the years of work they put into that franchise and all the stories and all the crossing paths, to be able to then tell a story that good and that compelling and make over 3 hours worth of movie feel like it zoomed by, that I wanted to see it again. Absolute work of art. Absolute work of art. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I think it has raised the bar for superhero movies without a shadow of a doubt. You can't muck around no more. Batman did that. The Christopher Nolan trilogy started it. And now those Marvel films are done. You can't muck around, man. If you want to release some crap, no one's going to like it. I love it. Brilliant. I don't know how I feel about it all now because it feels like a natural getting off point. But we'll see. New Spider-Man's coming out soon. You'll get Black Panther 2. That will rock. I don't know what else is coming, but we'll see. We'll see. It doesn't really matter now. The legacy's there. The legacy's set in stone. But yeah, massive fan of it. I think they've done great. Mariam Mohammed, how's it going, dude? Mariam, it's been a while. I'll try to get a mix of real and dumb questions. Mariam is really good at coming up with weird questions. We like Mariam. Has your character and personality been forged by happiness or by pain? Definitely. Actually, you know what? No. Retract that. Probably by pain. Which sounds more negative than I mean it to, but I found myself through bad events, like being bullied and stuff. So while I'm happy now, I had to go through some bad stuff to get there. So you're right. It probably has. Interesting. Tragedy is what Shakespeare said. If you could anomalously ruin one person's reputation, who would it be and why? In reality, no one, but that's a boring answer for this question. So I guess right now it'd be Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt, both of them, and everybody in the UK political sphere. I'd go around and I'd ruin all of them to the point we'd have to start again because it's a mess. What is the worst thing you would do for money? Define worst. I wouldn't do anything immoral. I wouldn't kill anybody. I wouldn't steal anything. But if you said, like, Miller, eat a disgusting amount of food, I do that. But then again, that's not really a hardship, is it? What is the worst thing? I don't think I do that many bad things for money. Not if I was going to wake up at night and be like, oh gosh, what have I done? Because nothing is worth that. Nothing. That feeling of guilt when you wake up every day and it hits you, nothing is worth that. So there's probably not a lot of things. I'm quite into my morals. I think it's important. Can you do the muscular guy boob dance? I have no idea what it's called. Educate me if you know. You mean like the Terry Crews thing? I mean, I can. Whether or not you can see it on camera, I don't know. I'm going to have to... I don't know. I don't know if you can see that. I tried, but I know I can do it, yeah. But that's like a coming of age thing in the gym. When you work your chest enough to the point you can flex it, it feels like, oh man, I'm getting somewhere. True story. What is the most shocking thing a teacher said to you? Al spent like 20 minutes explaining how misunderstood Nazis were. It was insane. Yes, I think I'd have to have walked out. No teacher ever said anything shocking to me. The story I always go to is when I was at parents' evening, and his name was Mr. Detheridge. He was either my English or my geography teacher, and he said to my mum, Simon's like a lovable dog. You're happy to have him around, but he doesn't really do anything. He wasn't wrong. Although, actually, he didn't say anything, but Mr. Robinson, who was my sports teacher at wherever that was, he once threw a cricket bat at me. Because I was meant to be really good at cricket, and I went out for a duck, which is the first ball, or one of the first balls without scoring any runs, and he chucked a cricket bat at me. He would not get away with that now. I'd be on the BBC. What's the best gift you could give someone, regardless of who they are? The gift of happiness. I don't know. Trying to think of a gift that would work for everyone. I think if you drew a picture of someone, or you got to draw a picture of somebody, I think everybody enjoys that. Everybody enjoys seeing themselves in caricature form as long as it's flattering. So I would do that. That would be my go-to. How do you feel about government surveillance? It's a tough one. Because on the one hand, it's bad, as we know, because everybody deserves some privacy, and you don't want to get too, George Orwell up in here. But then, imagine there's a whole thing going on over here at the UK at the moment about the terrorist attacks in London on the bridge. And if we had surveillance, you start thinking, well, maybe that wouldn't have happened. So it's very, very difficult. I would never be against it or never argue with somebody that said they agreed with it, because I actually understand. But personally, I always believe in put good first. And most people, I like to think, maybe not a good people, and we do deserve a bit of privacy. But I know if tomorrow a loved one or a family or a friend was taken out, I'd probably change my opinion, right? I'd probably like, well, we need to watch these people just to try and, get over my own grief. It's tough. I know you hate horror movies and jump scares, true, but how do you feel about horror books, comics? I'm all right with that. I'm actually all right with horror movies. Never a jump scare, but it's horror games that are the worst. So books, comics are fine because I'm in control, right? Movies are a bit worse because someone else is doing it, but I'm not physically holding anything. But games where I actually have to push forward on a thumbstick, can't do it. If you jump scare me in that, there's a video out there of me playing Friday at Freddy's, whatever the hell I think, what's that game called? Whatever. Mess. You probably see it. Absolute mess. But no. Finally, have you seen the Daniel Sloss stand-up Jigsaw on Netflix? He has a segment about love and relationships that apparently ended a 13 years marriage and caused dozens of breakups. Not in a black magic kind of way. That's good. It's just a good observation on love and what it means to be in love. I would love to know what you think about it. Where's my pen? I don't know. I'll write that down. Daniel Sloss Jigsaw. Done, Mariam. We will talk about it next week. Always good questions. Mackenzie Young. Hi, Simon. I hope you're well. And you, Mackenzie. I really appreciate the mental health videos you do and that you share your feelings and hang-ups on your platform. It's very, very welcome. Thank you very much for watching. It's inspiring to say the least. As someone who has a history of anxiety and depression, it can be very difficult for me to talk about. I would like to preface this with a disclaimer for sexual assault. As a male survivor of sexual assault, I find it incredibly difficult to advocate for myself, especially given the perception of masculinity in our society. Even when I reported what happened to the police, for context, it occurred on a bus while I was asleep late at night. Good grief, my friend. I was more or less criticized for allowing it to happen. I would like to know if you had any tips of being a self-advocate or even dealing with fear. Your video on wrestling gear is what made me think of this. I still have difficulty in public spaces and would like to try and move past this. I apologize for the heavy subject matter and would like to end this by saying next time in New York, it's a Pizza Hut on me. Mackenzie, I'll be there and I'll be pumped. It is very hard because, as we all know, our past experiences shape who we are today, and it does shape our future. Even if we're not prepared for that, you step into a situation, it triggers stuff in your brain, all of a sudden you're transported back to this time that clearly you weren't very happy, and nor should you have been. I don't know when this happened. What I would like to believe, and I could be wrong here, so I'm speculating, please forgive me, is that maybe it was a while ago and that now that wouldn't happen. Now, that's still no excuse, and it shouldn't have happened to you. I think in those situations, comfort should be the first thing, because that's what people need. But I do know that even with it a couple of years ago, maybe even a year ago, 18 months, that probably would have still been the reaction. Because I do feel like 2019, latter part of 2018, there has been a big shift into accepting these things and trying to do more. In terms of dealing with the fear, it's acceptance. And acceptance is the hardest thing to happen. But also putting yourselves in those situations and then allowing your body and your brain to realize, oh, it's not as bad as I first thought. I know it's not the same, but you brought up my wrestling gear, and that's what it was for me. You know, I was terrified. I went out there in that T-shirt, and as soon as I took that T-shirt off, you can see I pull my shoulders up and I pull my arms in because I'm intimidated by the atmosphere. But really now I look back and I go, what was I even worried about? And that's because in the moment I realized it was fine. It was a bit awkward standing there in your quote-unquote pants, basically, because it's not something I do in my general life. But again, because it wasn't as bad as I thought, now the process gets a little bit less. So when I have my wrestling match for tomorrow, for example, I won't be as intimidated as I was. Maybe a little bit, and if I catch myself in the mirror and don't like how I look, body hang-ups, it may get me, but I still put myself in that situation because I know that I've done it before and I know that I was okay. So I think that's the best thing you can do. Obviously, yours is far more severe than I. Sexual assault is no laughing matter. In fact, it's terrible. And, one human being decide they have any kind of power over everybody else is just awful. But I still think it's the same process. It may just take a little bit long. And that sucks, man. It absolutely sucks. No one should have to deal with that, especially when you're sleeping on a bus. I know that's still a public place, but, you drift off on a train or a bus or whatever, you don't expect to wake up and experience whatever it was that you experienced. But that I think kind of staring into the eye of tornado, which is a terrible analogy, but I do think that I do think that works, for lack of a better term. It's just quite hard. So yeah, just do what you can, my friend. Do what you can. People making asshole comments on this YouTube thing. If you say anything else like that, I will kick you out. Yeah, this is meant to be a Patreon stream. It was my bad. But don't be an asshole. It's really easy not to be an asshole. If you don't agree with anything, just shut up. Ibenai, totally riding them. Simon, can you solve a Rubik's Cube? Never. I get bored. I have bad attention span when it comes to that. Ibenai also says, I want to get to the gym but have shyness issues. Any advice for tackling that? Kind of what we're just talking about. You got to take yourself and just throw yourself in there. And eventually, once you get used to the environment and get used to the gym and get used to your program and realize that nobody else is looking at you, you will actually feel all right about it. So that's the best. The gym is an intimidating place, I get it, but you just got to put yourself in there, and soon the walls will become like home, and you'll be fine. And just know that they only care about themselves. If anybody is actually looking at you, it's because they're probably a psychopath. So you can just ignore them. They're crazy. Garth Jackson, hey Simon, happy Friday, man. Just wonder what your favorite albums of the year so far. Are there any you're looking forward to for the rest of the year? I need a list. This is the problem. I mean, my favorite albums of the year so far are The Disconnect by Heart of a Coward. I'm looking forward to Slipknot album as we go forward. I secretly like Billie Eilish's album, but don't tell anyone. I just think she's really interesting for a pop artist. Periphery 4, I enjoyed. I don't think that Ice Nine Kills... No, the Silver Scream came out last year, but I heard it this year. I dug that. They're probably my favourites so far. I'm also looking forward to ADHD, the new one by Joyner Lucas. So, yeah, I need a proper list. Also, Oasis's debut album definitely maybe is 25 years old this year. Do I feel old? I certainly do. I bought that from Owl Price when I was 13. Thanks for the awesome content. Have a powerful weekend. And you, Garth. I mean, I remember Owl Price. So, yeah, you and I are both in the same boat. Thing was, I understand this is an offensive thing to say. I was never really into Oasis. So I never got that whole definitely maybe vibe. That's why I was already way into Metallica then. Way into Metallica, so it just passed me by and I went on the metal thing. And I do like I didn't hate Oasis, but I never got excited or into the whole Britpop thing as it was blowing up. Weird, isn't it? But I do remember Our Price, and yes, I do feel old. My man Stan is back. Sorry, Simon, I had to come back in with the Heyman Bischoff hirings. I frankly am baffled at people that are immediately down on this for a couple of reasons. One, yes, I understand they still report to Vince, but both of them have dealt with enough in the past, so both of them have dealt with him enough in the past to be able to make certain conditions about the positions that I think will allow them a bit more free reign. Otherwise, they both seem perfectly content with where they were. I totally agree, Stan. I totally agree, and that's why I think we should just wait and see. And if it fails, what difference does it make? We're in the same place we are now. I don't get why people get so mad. With regards to Eric, I don't know why people aren't recognizing, as you noticed on the podcast, his name recognition. AEW, to be fair, didn't really hire Jim Ross to be a commentator. One of the main reasons was name recognition. I agree. Also, I'd say just not being in the game doesn't mean you can't be caught up to snuff with what's going on. The majority of people making commentary of this aren't in the game, but they feel they know what will work. I'm personally very excited about this. All the best, Stan. Stan, as usual, I agree with you 100%. I don't know what Eric Bischoff's current relationship is with the wrestling business, but we'll find out. Let's judge him on what he does, not what he may not do. Matthew Bailey. Hey, Simon, just a quick question. How many takes do you usually do to get a What Culture video done? Are they usually just one take, or do you take a couple of times to get everything right? It all depends. So, talking about the Bischoff Heyman video that I did yesterday, it's a mental thing, right? Because I knew I had to act fast, we need to get up as soon as possible, and I was going to wrestling training that night, and I wanted to fit it in before I left. It just flew out. It just flew out. I wrote a script. I always like the best reason. I don't really use a script as a. Well, I don't read a script verbatim, but I have it there. So if I do make a mistake, I know which. It's very easy to forget what paragraph you were at, or what point you were making. So if you know what paragraph you were referring to, you can just go back to that. But it just flew out. I mean, I honestly. You know, a 12, I think it was like 11-minute video. Usually there's about 15, 16 minutes worth of footage. And this one just, you know, flew. But some, especially with Raw, ups and downs, where there's so many things to remember, that can sometimes take me multiple takes. I think we've got a few saved up now for a blooper reel we're going to release later in the year. But no, most take a few takes, yes. And the problem is that sometimes you say things and then you get down to edit it and you realise, I called Dana Brooke Alexa Bliss or whatever, just by whatever, something's going in your brain. But I would say 50% of the time they fly out, 50% of the time they're a little bit more finicky. I'm quite a stickler for delivery as well. So if I don't think my delivery is very good, I'll go back and think, oh no, I can do that better, I can do that funnier or whatever. So it all depends. Podcasting Stone. Hey Simon, sorry to put a downer on things. Me and my girlfriend have been watching some horrific crime documentaries and read other such stories online. One of these was about a mother stabbing her 9-year-old son to death, her reason being that he looked too much like her ex-partner. My goodness. Is mental health an appropriate explanation for these horrific acts of isolated violence, or is there no explanation for pure evil? I cannot imagine the fear and terror that boy felt in his final moments alive. I don't know if I have an answer for that. I mean, I think it comes down to almost a nature and nurture environment. Because some people will say that to do that, you have to have something in you to begin with. It's not something it can just happen. However, when you start talking about stuff like CTE and brain damage, like there was a guy, I read about a guy the other day that performed something like that because he has brain damage. And you're like, well, if your brain's not working properly, I don't know, but it's really hard to comment on because when I hear something like that, the judgmental side of me just says, yeah, well, terrible human being, right? Absolutely terrible human being. I don't think anybody could argue that. And I guess you and I can relate to the horribleness of it because we're not in that position and we understand how awful. That's the other thing. I think the reason human beings in general find stuff like serial killers and murders like this so fascinating is you can't work it out. You can't work it out. Like, why the hell would you do that? Because you can't look at the world from your point of view. And if you would never do that, as most of us wouldn't, it's like, the flip. I think probably mental health can tie it to a little bit, but at the same time, loads of people have mental health issues and they don't go out and kill anyone. So I think it's a little bit of, chicken and egg scenario, but really deep down, it's you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. But generally speaking, there can be a reason for this. This is what I'm going to do. There can be a reason for it. But I don't think there can be an excuse for it. It's hard to excuse killing your son because he looked like your ex. Even if you say, oh, she suffered from mental health problems, I would sympathize with that. I'd be like, okay, there's the reason, but it's not an excuse. It's tough. I mean, it really, really is tough. And, you hear lots of stories like that. Like there's a story over here at the moment about a guy who he stabbed this other guy on the bus. And now his mum has come out and said he's a paranoid schizophrenic. And you're like, I mean, what do you do with that information? I don't think there's any satisfying answer. I just think it's all pretty much terrifying. Stuff like that terrifies me. But it is also fascinating because, again, we don't know, we don't know, you don't know the ins and outs, and we need to work it out. But yeah, that's crazy, man. I understand the fascination, though. I do. When all the I can't remember the guy's name now. The famous serial killer that just got his Netflix documentary in the film with Zac Efron. It will pop in my head in a minute. Ted Bundy, thank you. You know, you watch that and you're just like, good grief. How the flip did we even get here? It's crazy. Right, that's it. That's all the questions. Again, I apologize to patrons. I didn't mean to put this public. Luckily, we capped it at 40 people. So it's not like it went too crazy. I'll make it up to you next week. I'll come up with something and I'll post something on Monday. Thank you as always for being patrons. Again, I'm wrestling tomorrow up in Newcastle. If you're coming down, I'll see you there. If not, got loads of content planned for next week. A final wrestling podcast on Sunday, again, which I wouldn't be able to do without you guys. And then Monday, I'll drop a line in the Patreon and we can figure out what we're doing this week. Well, there may be a slight delay as I have to get a new computer, but I will figure it out. That's why the Patreon is great. I have a lot of people protecting me, basically. So have a lovely weekend. Sorry about the delay. Sorry about the absolute faff with this one. I'm an idiot. I was stressed and it's hot and I was worrying about the finances of getting a new computer. But I'll figure it out and I'll see you again soon.